Remember SSX On Tour? SSX On Tour is a snowboarding and skiing game released in October 2005 for the GameCube, PS2, Xbox, and PSP. From EA Canada under the banner of EA Sports Big, SSX On Tour was the franchise's fourth entry, and this was my one and only experience with the series. I'm not usually a fan of sports games, however, there's something special about this one. This entry has great gameplay and decent graphics for the time, but SSX On Tour transcends being just another sports game. SSX On Tour captures the feeling of the early 2000s. This was the MTV era. Green Day, Kelly Clarkson, 50 Cent, and The Killers were all topping the charts, and the culture was very much about the edgy, emo youth. EA made a good decision for once and decided to tap into this. Previous SSX games had a more polished look to them and featured more electronic music, but this time the creative team decided to take a chance and try to approach the game in a youth-focused way. And boy did they succeed. The game was released to favorable reviews and went on to win IGN's award for Best Alternative Sports Game. I was 9 when this game came out, and it is one of those games that really sticks out in my childhood and my nostalgia brain, so clearly SSX On Tour made a bit of a splash. So let's talk about it. I own the GameCube version, of course, so that's the version we're talking about. SSX On Tour offers two main modes, the Tour and Quick Play. The Tour is the story mode of sorts, and Quick Play is the I just want to fly down a hill right now mode. Quick Play can be single player or multiplayer. So let me walk you through my experience. Starting the Tour, I was prompted to create a character. You can choose male or female, snowboard or skis, height and weight, and several variations of uncanny second-gen console faces. I created a ghostly snowboarding weirdo named Chan. After his birth, Chan was immediately tasked with beating Elise in a snowy escape race. After learning his first word, he beat the shit out of Elise, and she invited him to join the tour. From here, we were taken to the tour map that featured shreds Chan could take part in. Shreds are challenges to complete that increase your tour ranking and earn you money. These periodically unlock events, which are also challenges, but they're more difficult and affect your ranking more than shreds. Think of shreds as practice for events. You know, this is nice and all, and some of the challenges are fun, but what Chan and I really care about right now is playing dress up. Currently, Chan looks like someone who would shout homophobic slurs in a 90s movie, so it was time to change that. Since Chan was literally born yesterday, he had no hair and no concept of what looks good on him. Naturally, he chose to wear a red wig with a blonde bald cap underneath. I'm not sure what inspired him, but I think we can all agree that it was the right choice. He also decided to paint on some chunky black sideburns because duh. Next up were his skin coverings. Born on the wintry slopes of southern Ontario, the baggy jacket and pants Chan was born with were far too hot to handle. That was not the kind of too hot to handle he wanted to be. So instead he stripped it down to a navy tank top and some orange plaid pants because oh Canada. And to top it all off, he bought a headband because as we all know, all good athletes plaster their sweaty hair to their face. Now he was ready to return to the slopes. The newly minted Short King decided his first shred would be a one-on-one race. His first instincts were of course to physically assault his opponent, but the only thing getting a beatdown this time was him. After breaking every bone in his body though, he somehow still managed to win the race. Chan was now officially part of the tour and unlocked the ability to revisit past events. Why he would do that when he could just break ass in new events? Nobody knows. His next shred challenge was to gain 20 seconds of airtime in 90 seconds. Why anyone would want to see him on air, nobody knows that either. He of course couldn't resist trying to bully some children along the way, and once again, he was successful. One trick point contest and find the collectibles challenge later, Chan was faced with his first opponent with an actual name, Nate. Nate's beaver-themed intro movie scared the shit out of Chan, but he knew that if he wanted to be the Snow King, he needed to drive out the wildlife and beat this hoser. And beat he sure did. Chan was now an amateur arrival, and Nate was banned to the selectable character section of Quick Play. Chan saw another opportunity to prove himself against the dolphin girl, Sky. However, he failed to understand that lead by 25,000 trick points means you have to actually, lead by 25,000 points. We then took a break to watch a movie called MTV2, which perplexed, amused, scarred, and received a standing ovation from these cultured filmgoers. I then returned Chan to cryosleep so that I could take a detour into quick play. Despite the 7 SSX characters available to play, I decided to go back to my roots and ignore what the developers worked really hard on, because deep down, I am just a corporate shill. So I chose Peach. Mario, Luigi, and Peach are also in this game because of a deal Nintendo had with EA Sports at the time. EA Sports would feature Nintendo characters and EA would get money from that. This was kinda smart though. I mean, 9-year-old me was definitely drawn to the plumbers cosplaying as athletes. Anyway, I took Peach on a no airtime allowed trip, which did not go very well because all Peach knows how to do is get high. I guess getting high on the slopes is an illegal act now though, because next thing I knew, Peach was being chased by the ski cops. But we all know Peach doesn't get herself captured by anyone but Bowser, so she left their asses in the snow squalls. 2 misunderstood shreds later, Peach had had enough. It was time for her and my favorite opportunity, take out 15 ski kids. Children really are such a gift. I had a great time on this detour, but it was time to wake Chan back up and take him on his first real date. Returning to the tour, Chan saw an opportunity for redemption after the Sky fiasco, and his name was Simon. Chan really tried to make it work, but Simon unfortunately made it clear pretty quickly that he wanted some distance, and so, as most first relationships go, Chan and Simon did not work out. But, in the wake of this happily never after, Chan was presented with his first major event. He would have 2 opportunities to qualify for the final race, and in the final race he would have to, of course, win. He didn't technically have to win, but he knew if he didn't place first he would be worthless in my eyes. Right out of the gate he brought his signature criminal take to the sport and he placed first in round 1 with ease. It was now time for the final race. Chan knew that this would be easy for him. What he didn't anticipate, however, was that his assault victims would start to fight back, and for a second there, he almost found himself an orphan. But despite the setbacks and a skull fracture, Chan successfully topped Tyson and the other competitors. Chan was now officially ranked on the Trans World Snowboarding charts at 173 out of 200. It was time for a reward. Chan had earned a good chunk of money at this point, plus what he had scavenged on the slopes, and even after my take of 97%, he had enough to buy himself a new board and a new look. After many days of life, he finally took off the wig to reveal greasy jaw-length blonde hair. Beautiful. Then at the Old Navy, he made the greatest discovery known to mankind: shades. Pairing his postmodern shades with some skull gloves, an argyle green sweater, and camo pants, Chan was ready to hit the raceway. Something must have changed in Chan, because suddenly, his first race back, he was doing tricks, one-shotting bystanders, and getting railed. This Chan was no longer a boy. I wouldn't say a man, but definitely something that was not a boy. Chan won his shred easily and was immediately faced with yet another event in which to plow the competition. In classic Chan fashion, he won the first race, bitch-slapping anyone and everyone he could. The final race saw his other racers once again coming for him, but this time he was prepared. He sent his competition to the hospital, flipped off the paparazzi, and easily won his second event. Chan was on his way to becoming a legend. Another Chan makeover occurred in which he evolved from a stoner college student to this. One more event and he was ranked the 127th best snowboarder in the world. It was at this point that I had decided I had had enough of fair play. It was time to tap into the cheat codes. Opening up the literal cheat menu, I changed everything we knew about snowboarding. I captured Simon, Sky, and the rest of the Rugrats and locked them in quick play. I gave Chan a permanent boost of energy. I made physically assaulting other hill patrons a long-range sport, and most importantly, I gave Chan what he always deserved: an unlimited bank account. It was time to dress Chan like the mythological creature that he is. A skin-tight racer suit to honor the god Sexy Flanders, and a lampshade on his head to represent how we'll be lampshading Chan's success as a snowboarder. And now Chan is a god, careening down the mountain at 250 miles per hour. Nothing except metal and nature stands in his way. Humans were nothing but sliding corpses to Chan. Chan would go on to scar people in many more events and climb the ranks with his absolute bullshit. And it was at this point that I realized Chan doesn't need me anymore. Chan has everything he needs and provides me with a constant revenue stream. You know, it's hard to say goodbye to your first child, but it's time to let my experiment go. I'm proud of Chan for all that he's accomplished, and I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Emotional, I checked in to see how Simon was doing in Quick Play. He seems well. I'm not sure how he feels about Chan, but it does seem he's been inspired by Chan's unique tactics. I then decided to participate in some multiplayer quick play for some light free play boarding. I thought this would be relieving for me, but wouldn't you know it, I made that emotional goodbye for nothing because there was Chan, my child, my baby, my Chan. He was facing off against another creature of the ice named Dikhya? Must be a family name. Another fierce competitor with a suspiciously similar level of skill. I'll have to come back to this one. And that was my truly emotional and enlightening experience with SSX On Tour. Other things I didn't mention, you can set playlists so the game only plays the songs you like, you can unlock a bunch of little movies like those unlockable character intros, and you can see all your stats and photos in the rewards section of the tour. In all seriousness, SSX On Tour is an extremely fun game to play. It's very simple, but the gameplay is robust enough to keep you coming back, and the unlockables have a lot of charm to them. Speaking of charm, while the gameplay is stellar and technically makes the experience, this is not the main reason I think the game is iconic. SSX On Tour is kind of made by its set dressing. I'm not sure what the technical term is to describe the art style in this game, but clearly they were trying to embrace the MTV aesthetic, and I know this was their inspiration because you can literally unlock that MTV2 movie. The art design changed from a more sleek, basic design and became sketch-like. This was to make the vibe more appealing to young people. The art director of the game, Rich Curran, literally even said in an interview that we used drawings that looked like they were produced by a 15-year-old. Not even good drawings at that. And it works. It instantly makes the whole experience feel more like a kid's fantasy than a standard video game. The sanitized, emo flavor, rebel aesthetic that was extremely popular during the early 2000s. I don't mean for that to sound like a read, because I genuinely think that this was a brilliant approach. I was 9 when this game came out, so I was the perfect age to fully appreciate what this was doing, and this felt like a world made for me. All throughout the game there are these like little characters that appear in the menus and the loading screens. They're everywhere, and they all have these little vignettes told through their animations. They're weird and evocative, and it genuinely feels like a kid's imagination come to life. I remember as a kid being so enamored with these, and legitimately watching them on loop. SSX On Tour was the first video game I played that felt like it was designed by kids for kids, which is kind of amazing. The other vital half of this equation is the soundtrack. In my mind, the quintessential example of where music was at this time is the success of the Jay-Z and Linkin Park remix, Numb Encore. Hip-hop and punk were it, so SSX On Tour took the hint, and this, even more than the art design, was the creative team's most genius decision. I can pretty much say for certain that I wouldn't have remembered this game if not for the music. My favorite songs were always Billy Talent's Red Flag and Goldfinger's My Everything, but Run to the Hills, God Killed the Queen, New Rock, Here It Goes Again, Daft Punk is playing, Apply Some Pressure. The soundtrack is incredible and somehow managed to feel like it was actually current music despite the speed at which pop culture changes. It's not just that these songs are good, it's that they managed to pinpoint exactly what was popular at the time. More than any other game from this time that I play now, SSX On Tour is the one that makes me feel the most like a kid again. And to me, this is what makes SSX On Tour worthy of recognition. The game was and is an experience unlike any other I've ever had. The gameplay is really great, but it's really everything that supports it that makes the game iconic. I remember playing this as a kid with my brother, and even now playing it with my friends. It's just a really good time, and it feels special. I'm not really sure how popular this game actually is, but regardless, I think it deserves even more attention than whatever it's gotten. SSX On Tour captured 2005 in a video game and is the most nostalgia-triggering game I've ever played. Absolutely iconic. So I really want to know if you've ever heard of or played this game. Please let me know what you think. I'd really love for this game to get re-recognized in the punk revival era we seem to be in. Am I overblowing how good this game is? Do you love it too? Let me know. Thanks for revisiting the slopes with me. Subscribe if you like. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna take a nap.